look at the website, okay, I think I even drop a link. I drop a link on one of the recordings I did with the last set of people I trained for Cisco on Vlan. So if you listen to that recording, you probably have learned everything we're about to do in today's class. But then we cannot assume that everybody listen to the recording, so we have to do this again. But my approach will be different from the way I taught in that video, because I'm always evolving as I'm training. Over the years, we evolve every time. We always look for a better way to communicate this, to deliver this message to the students. Thank you guys. I can see your thumbs up. So we always look for better way to deliver this to the students. So I think I got another inspiration on how to go about it, which will be different from what you will have watched in that video. So a quick recap before we go into the configuration. We talked about VLAN. VLAN simply means virtual local area network. Virtual local area network. And I gave you a background of why you do VLAN. It's not compulsory you do VLAN, but you may have to do VLAN. And you have to know this VLAN because you may have to do VLAN. I remember giving guys the background, say, okay, let's assume you have two different departments to network together. All you need to do is to drop a router. Every department will be on different segments of the router. What if there are 6 departments? If you still have enough ports, you do that on the router. Don't forget, every connection on the router is a network, a different subnet. Don't ever forget that. So if you have, what about 10 departments? If you still have enough ports on the router, every department will be in their own segment, in their own network. But then a time will come where you're going to have an institution where you need 20 subnets, 40 subnets. You want to take care of 40 departments or even 60 departments. And then using a router will not be visible at that point in time to segment the network. And that is one of the reasons why we use VLAN. We take our segmentation down to the layer 2. We take it away from layer 3, we take it to layer 2, and it's going to work perfectly. But you also need to recall that I said this when we were doing switch configuration. Your switch by default does not segment the network. The switch doesn't segment the network. So if you like, you had 20 computers to this switch now. All of them, any broadcast from one computer will reach all the other computers. That is the way the switch operates. If you like, you had another switch and there are computers here. If there is a broadcast from one person here, it will enter this switch. This switch will replicate this and send it to everybody. And then this one will send it to everybody. So what we are simply trying to say is this: the switch does not segment the network. It takes the router to segment the network. So when we say the switch does not segment the network, we mean it does not segment the network by default. Take note of that word. By default. So when you hear by default, it means say it doesn't do it by default, but we can make that happen by configuration. So in today's class, we said the switch does not segment the network. We want to use the switch to segment the network. So what we're trying to do in today's class is on one switch, there are people there, and yet they can't talk to themselves, which was not the case before. So we can decide to segment the switch into 3. Call some people in VLAN 10. Let's call them accounting department. Some people in VLAN 20, let's call them HR guys. Some people in VLAN 30, let's call them maybe admin. And some people are plugged to this same switch in admin department. Some are plugged to this same switch in HR department. And some are plugged to the same switch in accounting department. By the time we are done with the configuration, you will realize that it is only the people in accounting that can talk to the people in accounting. The people in HR can only talk to themselves. The people in admin can only talk to themselves, and none of them can cross border. Accounting cannot talk to people in HR. HR cannot talk to people in admin. Why do we do things like that? One of the reasons is because we want to be able to monitor the traffic, optimization. Another reason why we do this kind of segmentation is because of security. Security, if there is an attack in VLAN 10, maybe virus invasion or whatever, you cannot enter VLAN 20. So you need to know all of these things. So we use this for security reason. And not just about virus. Maybe we have another department or a subnet that is for students. You don't want students to be able to talk to accounting department or HR or admin. So we isolate them even though they're all on the same switch. And this we are going to do by configuration. It does not happen by default. So the reason why we do VLAN, we've talked about some of those things in our last class. So these are the reason why we do VLAN. These are the reason why we do VLAN. Just a minute, please. So we want to demonstrate this and see how this works. And there's another thing I told you guys in the last class. Don't ever forget this. Every VLAN is a subnet. So if we say we are going to have VLAN 10, accounting department, VLAN 20, HR, VLAN 30, admin, every VLAN is a subnet, meaning we need to allocate a subnet address for them. HR will have their own. Admin will have their own. Don't ever forget that, guys. So this is my approach today. So let's go and bring a switch out and see how we configure VLAN on a switch. I will just bring a switch out. We are going to start with the switch. Then later on, we are going to add another switch. Now, you see this switch that I brought out now. I have not done any configuration on this switch. If you remember, I said something to you guys. You can use our Cisco switch as plug and play. Meaning, you don't know about any configuration. You just plug computers to it, and they are using the switch to talk to themselves. But Cisco training is beyond that. You are expected to know how to make this thing to stand up and dance the way you want them to dance, operate the way you want them to operate. So now I'm not going to be doing all the things I taught you at the beginning, console cable and all of those things. So in packet tracer, we just double click. But in the real world, you know you cannot double click. So you have to console to the switch. So right now, I'm going to go into the switch. If I click this switch right now, I go to CLI, go to command prompt, just hit enter. That is what you guys have known. That's what I taught you when we started the journey. And now from here, you go to privilege, use a privilege mode. From there, global configuration mode, you change name, you do line console 0, all of those stuff, basic configuration. I am not going to be doing that for you guys. So whenever I want to do any configuration, I will just go straight to what brought us there. You know that if you are in a real world scenario environment, you got to configure all those basic, name the switch, protect the line console, protect line virtual, protect all of those things. So please take note of that. The fact that I'm not doing them again now doesn't mean that you don't have to do them. You have to do them, but I believe you've been taught, so you know what to do. So what do? I want to just show you something. I'll go to privilege mode. On this switch, we've not done any configuration at all. Look at what we got there. Show VLAN brief. Show VLAN brief. Show VLAN brief. Look at all the ports. Look at all the ports we have here. These are all the ports that are on this switch. And guess what? All the ports you are seeing here, they are all in VLAN 1. Look at the VLAN 1 here. Look at VLAN 1 in this place. Look at it. Look at the name of the VLAN 1 is called default. Look at the status of that VLAN 1. And guess what? All the ports on this switch, all of them, they are in VLAN 1. All of those ports. Who put them in VLAN 1? That's how the manufacturer did these things. So the ideal is that whenever you drop a switch and you plug computers to the switch and they're all talking to themselves, whether you know about VLAN or you don't know about VLAN, those guys are in VLAN 1. And that is the reason why all those computers can talk to themselves. That is the VLAN that all of the computers belong to by default. And guess what? In my last class, I said we will advise not to use VLAN 1. So we're not going to use VLAN 1. So if we don't use VLAN 1, what happens to all of these ports? We will move them out of this VLAN 1. So if we create VLAN 10 right now, we say let it for accounting. We create, let's say VLAN 20 is for HR. We say VLAN 30 is for maybe admin people. We will share all this port between all of those guys. We can say, okay, port 1 to 4 is for people that are in accounting. Port 5 to 10 is for people in HR. Also, any VLAN we put you into, if you plug your computer into that port, you have automatically assumed the membership of that VLAN. So take note of that. By default, VLAN 1 is created. And that is why we said you can't delete it, you can't rename it, because you didn't create it. And you are even told, do not use VLAN 1. Why? It is risky. Because the threat actors are also aware that there is VLAN 1. So in this class today, we want to create other VLANs that we want to use for our training. So we're going to create 3 VLANs: VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30. We'll name them. How do you create VLAN? Very simple and straightforward. Go to global configuration mode. Guys, we now learn how to do all of these things. I will say VLAN 10. VLAN 10. If I hit enter right now, watch my prompt. My prompt has changed to config VLAN. VLAN 10. My prompt has changed to config VLAN. And this is what we call VLAN configuration mode. The moment I say VLAN 10 has been created without a name. Let me confirm that to you. Do show just a minute, please give me a minute. Sorry guys, I'm back fully now. So if I say do show, I think I've talked about do command in this class before. I can't remember. Do show VLAN brief. You use do command when you want to use show command and you are not at privilege mode. I take that again. Most of the show command we use, they are always at privilege mode. What if I'm not in privilege mode and I still want to use that command? I had do to it. So if I say do show VLAN brief, look at what we got here. VLAN 10 has been created. Look at it here. VLAN 10 has been created. Look at the name that the switch gave to that VLAN 10, but that's not what we want. And that VLAN 10 is active. So the point I'm making is this: the moment you say VLAN 10 and you hit enter, that VLAN has been created. But I want to name this VLAN. VLAN, I want to name it. Same as that prompt. I will say name accounting. If I hit enter right now, I'm going to show you again. You will see what has happened now. VLAN 10 was created, and that VLAN was named accounting. And guess what? That VLAN is active. And guess what? There is no port in that VLAN. See, the front is empty. We're going to finish creating all our VLANs now before we now move port. So now I can continue my job. You know what? I also want to create VLAN 20. I hit enter and then name it, say HR. Hit enter. If we show again now, you will see that VLAN 20 has been created. The name is HR. That VLAN is active, but no port is on that VLAN. Then I can create the last VLAN for now, VLAN 30. name admin. So if I show again, you see that now we have 3 different VLANs created by us, because we know that we have 3 different departments and we want to segment everybody on the same switch. So now that I've created all these 3 VLANs, what do I need to do next? I now have to decide, okay, how many ports do I have on this switch? How many staffs do we have in accounting department? How many staffs do we have in HR? How many staffs do we have in admin department? I will now share this port between them based on the numbers of staffs in different departments. So I can now say, okay, since altogether I have port 1 to 24, if in HR, in accounting department, there are 8 people there, I can give them 10 ports because they can have another staff later. So I will move port 1 to 10. Port 1 to 10, I will move it into accounting. What about HR? Maybe HR are just 5 people. I can say port 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I will move it into HR. Then the remaining port, I can give admin. Or maybe just 5 ports give to admin. 16 to 20, I give it to admin. So what does that mean? If I move port 1 to 10 into accounting, any member of accounting department, once they plug in any of these ports, they automatically assume the membership of that VLAN. That's where they belong. If somebody in accounting department make mistake and go and plug on port 10, sorry, on port 11 rather, which belongs to HR, he has changed membership. He will only be able to talk to people in HR. He won't be able to talk to people in accounting. And guess what? That may not be what you want. So I said all of that to say this. It is not enough for you to create VLANs. You must also move ports into VLANs. You must allocate ports into different VLANs. So if I am able to segment my switch right now, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, I need to move some ports into VLAN 10. It's like sharing inheritance. All of them were in VLAN 1 before. Now the father don't die, want to share the inheritance. All the ports goes to different VLANs that we have created. VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30. You share the port accordingly. And guess what? All of these VLANs we are created, they are data VLAN. Why are they called data VLAN? Because people will be sending messages between themselves. They will be browsing the internet. People in accounting can communicate within themselves. People in HR can communicate between themselves. Admin people can communicate between themselves, but they cannot cross border. Accounting cannot talk to HR. HR cannot talk to admin, even though they are on the same switch. And that was not the case before. But all of them will browse the internet, but they can't talk to themselves. But in our next class, that will be on Monday, we will now say, what if we want them to talk to themselves? That is another ball game entirely. But we need to finish this one first. So now that I've done this, I want to now switch ports into accounting. So I want to switch port 1 to 10 into accounting, 11 to 15 into HR, 16 to 20 into admin. How do I do that? I gotta get out of this environment where I am now. I will enter into the ports, interface, fast Ethernet 0/1. That is the first port. I will hit enter. I will say switch ports, access, VLAN 1. VLAN 10. What am I doing? I am moving this port out of VLAN 1 into VLAN 10. By the time I hit enter right now, you will see that that port will disappear from VLAN 1 and it will enter VLAN 10. You watch out now. What did I do? I enter into that port first. And now say switch ports, access VLAN 10. If I hit enter right now, the port don't disappear from VLAN 1. Let's confirm that. I can use that show VLAN brief again. Do show VLAN brief. You will see that here right now, you're not going to see VLAN port 1 again. Port 1 has disappeared. Where did he enter? See port 1 here in accounting department. We have moved port 1 away from VLAN 1. We have put it in VLAN 10, which is accounting VLAN. So there are other spots that I want to move as well. I want to move port 2, port 3, port 4, port 5, port 6, port 7, port 8, port 9, port 10. Instead of moving this port one after the other, there is a way to move them all together. Watch out. I will say interface range. Take note of that. Interface range. Fast Ethernet 0/2 spacebar hyphen spacebar 10. Meaning what? I am entering into all these remaining ports at the same time from port 2 to port 10. interface range fast Ethernet 0/2 spacebar hyphen then spacebar then 10. I will hit enter right now. Look at my prompt. My prompt has changed to config if range. This is what we call interface range command, interface range environment. So here right now, I am in all the remaining ports. I can just say switch ports, access VLAN 10. If I hit enter right now, all those ports that I enter, they will all move into VLAN 10 at the same time. Let's show VLAN brief again and find out. You can see right now, in VLAN 10, I have port 1, port 2, port 3, port 4, port 5, port 6, port 7, port 8, port 9, port 10, meaning anybody that plug into any of these ports, they will be able to talk to themselves. So all the people that belong to the accounting department, these are the ports we have decided to give to them. We want to do that for HR as well, port 11 to 15. We want to do that for admin as well, port 16 to 20. Let's finish this. Same command again. I can use up arrow key to go back. Interface range fast Ethernet 0/11 spacebar hyphen spacebar 11 to 15. I want to move those guys into VLAN 20. Up arrow key is what I'm using to bring back the previous command. If I hit enter right now, if I go and show you the show VLAN brief again to see what has happened, you see right now for HR department, port 11 to 15 have been moved into HR at once, not one after the other. Then I will go again. I want to do for admin guys. That is port 16 to 20. I can use my up arrow key, bring that command back. I'll say, okay, same command. I can just edit this. Put 16 to 20. Hit enter. And see this time around, you guys are going into VLAN 30. If I hit enter, show VLAN brief again. Look at people in admin here. They have entered VLAN 30, port 16, port 17, port 18, port 19, port 20. So I'm done creating these 3 different VLANs. VLAN 10 for accounting department, VLAN 20 for HR, VLAN 30 for admin people. So now the question is, which subnet do I want to give to accounting department? Because everybody that will be plugged on those ports, they need IP addresses. Where will they get them from? They need to have their own identity. Which network address will I give to HR? Which network address will I give to admin? Those are the things I have to decide. Okay, so now let's test run this. Let's test run this. So now I will bring out two computers. So let's say 8 computers all in all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is okay. So two computers per VLAN. So I'm going to plug the first 2 computers on port 1 and 2, which is accounting department. The other 2 computers on ports 11 and 12, which is HR. Then the last 2 on 16 and 17, which is admin. So now I have plugged all these computers. Computers that are connected to the network need IP addresses. If they don't have IP addresses, nothing is going to happen. And right now, as we have it right now, they don't have IP addresses. We need to give them IP addresses. So we have to decide. This design has to be done before you start the journey. I just decided to start from this aspect now. If you watch the other video, you see that I allocated the subnet before I went to configuration. So this time around, I'm going to just, okay, you know what? For people in accounting, I will give them, for instance, 192.168.1.0/24. We say this is for accounting people. Then again, I will say for people in HR, I'll give them 192.168.2.0/24. You see why you need to know IP addressing. Anybody having problem with this, go back to CCNA1. We've taken care of all of this. This is the HR department. So we can say for the last department, which is admin, they will have be on 192.168.3.0/24. This is for admin. Admin. So I'm going to have this addressing scheme so that I know where to pick addresses from for computers on the network. And guys, we're just doing static now. We're going to come to another level in this training where we are going to allocate IP addresses automatically by using a DHCP. So since I know that all the people in accounting, they are on 192.168.1.0 network, this is for accounting department, I cannot begin to allocate IP addresses to people from this network. Anybody in accounting department will carry IP address from 192.168.1.1. I can give another person 192.168.1.2. I can give another person 192.168.1.3, and so on and so forth. What if I go to our HR department, for those guys that are plugged to HR ports, those HR VLAN, I will give them IP addresses from 192.168.2.1, 192.168.2.2. That's a different subnet entirely. It's a different network. Even though they're on the same switch, they are treated as a different network. The same thing happens to admin guys. So take note of this, guys. Every VLAN is a subnet. Every VLAN is a subnet. A VLAN equal a subnet. A VLAN is equal a subnet. So let us now assign IP addresses to these computers based on the VLANs they belong to. So the first one, the first two computers, they are in accounting. So I'll click the computer. Okay, that makes sense. Samuel said I should activate the interface so that you can see them. Makes sense. Just as sometimes it can look clumsy. That's why I don't like activating it. If you have plenty computer, it will look clumsy. You can see now it's looking clumsy now. So it makes sense. But I like that. So these people are port 1 and 2. They are in accounting, so I can give them their own IP addresses. So I'll click the computer, go to desktop, go to IP configuration, then give it an IP address. From where? From 192.168.1.0 network. So I'm going to say, all right, you know what? You take 192.168.1. Please don't use .1 for now. I'll tell you later in our next class. You can, let's pick from .2 and above. .2. Then I will click the space for subnet mask, and that's it. And guess what? We don't have a default gateway. What's a default gateway? That is our exit out of this local area network. We're not even going out for now. We don't have anything on DNS. So I'm done with this computer. I'll close it. I'll go to the next computer. I'll give it an IP address as well. 192.168.1.3 subnet map. So those two guys have been given IP addresses based on the subnet they belong to, based on their subnet. So let me give 11 and 12 their own IP addresses as well. So 11 and 12 are in HR department, and their own network is 192.168.2.0 network. So I'll give this guy 192.168.2.2. Skip .1 as well. Put subnet mask. We're good to go. Then the second computer is here. That is the second computer I put for HR. 192.168.2.3 for subnet mask. And we're good to go. Then the last two computers, they're in admin. They are on 3.0 network. We give them their own IP addresses as well. 192.168.3.2. Then the last one, 192.168.3.3. Then subnet mask. So now I have given everybody their IP addresses. So I can now test for connectivity between people from the same VLAN. I'll test for connectivity between these two guys. I'm going to test for connectivity between these two guys. I'm going to test for connectivity between these two guys. When if they can talk to themselves, I will not try to talk to another person, another VLAN. You will see that they will not talk to themselves. So let's test this. So I can go to this computer here, which is in accounting. Go to command line. If you like, you can confirm the IP address, but there's no need. So you see IP config. You see this guy is 192.168.1.2. So I want to ping 192.168.1.3. That is the next guy in that same department, in the same VLAN. And this is VLAN 10. I will hit enter. You can see reply, successful reply. You can see that they are talking to themselves. Successful reply. Then I will go to the other guy there. That is the one in HR now. IP config. See, this is 2.2 network, 2.0 network. I'll say, okay, ping 192.168.2.3. You see that these guys can talk to themselves. You can see that they can talk to themselves. So everybody in the same VLAN must be able to talk to themselves. I'll go to the last one. IP config. This one is 3.0. Ping 192.168.3.3. You now can see that everybody in the same department in the same VLAN or department can talk to themselves. So let's now try to cross border and see if this is going to work. And guess what? They are all on the same switch. They are all on the same switch. They should, before what I taught you before, everybody on the switch can talk to themselves. So let's now see if it's going to work now. So I'll go to one of the guys in the accounting department and say, you know what? We are trying something here. Ping 192.168.2.2. That is somebody in HR. It's not going to ever happen. Unicast will not go, guys. Broadcast will not go. Multicast will not go. You can only talk to the people in your own VLAN. You can't send message out. No form of message can. You are just in your own department now. Let's try another department. That is admin 3.2. We have somebody there. 3.2. Somebody in accounting want to try to talk to somebody in admin department. That is not going to happen. So how come this is not happening? Because we broke the switch into 3. We isolated the department so that they cannot talk to themselves. Why did we do that? We are trying to segment the network. And with what I just did right now, I can do 100 VLANs, 200 VLANs. I think it's in the number of thousands. This is how people segment network in big organizations like universities, because your router cannot handle all the different segments. And another way people use this concept is if you have, let me give you for an example now, in your house, you have smart devices. You don't put smart devices on the same network with your regular laptop. You put those smart devices, all this Internet of Things stuff, you put them on a different VLAN. Because if the bad guys hack into any of those devices, they cannot enter into your normal network or your data network where you have your laptop, you have your server, you have your whatever. They are isolated in that environment. That is one of the things we use VLAN for. So we use it for security reasons as well. I hope you guys are clear on this. So we are not done yet. We only have 3, what do you call it? 3 VLANs, and these are all data VLANs. If you take a look at my switch critically, my switch does not have an IP address, and this is not what I taught you guys. The switch also needs to have an IP address. So where is the switch going to have an IP? Get his IP address from? Guys, we need to have a different VLAN called management VLAN with its own subnets. That is where I will give my switch an IP address from. That is different from data VLANs. And down the road, we are going to create the native one for native VLAN. When the switches want to talk to themselves, we are going to come and create another VLAN again. That's why I say my approach this time around is different. So this my switch does not have any IP address, and it needs one. We cannot go and pick from any of these departments because the switch needs to be put in management VLAN, meaning its own subnet. Management traffic should be different from data traffic. And so we are going to have to decide, okay, what do we want to give the switch? I mean, which VLAN do we want to give the switch? Which subnet? So we can create, let's say, VLAN 40 for the switch. We have 10, we have 20, we have 30. Let's say VLAN 40 for the switch and give it management VLAN as a name and also give it a subnet. So if that is the case, I'm going to go into the switch now. Now watch out, though. Watch out. I'm going somewhere. I will go to this switch and say, you know what? You know what? I'm going to this switch and say, you know what? You don't have an IP address, and I want to give you one, but I need to give you a different. I need to give an IP address for management VLAN. So we are going to create management VLAN. So I'll go back to my global configuration mode and say VLAN 40. That's the VLAN number. I'll hit enter. I called it management. That's the name I want to give to it. Name management. Now, if I go back to my switch right now, you will see that the switch, the VLAN 40 has been created. Now look at it here. VLAN 40 has been created. Now take note of that. Management VLAN is not for us to put some ports in this VLAN so that users can be there. No, this is just for us to manage traffic, or let's say for management traffic, all this telnet, SSH, ping, all of those things. This is their own VLAN. It is not for data. So no port will be switched into this management VLAN. No user is going to be there. It's just for us to be able to manage our traffic between the switches when we're pinging, when we're telnetting, when we're doing SSH. And so that's management VLAN. We also have to allocate a subnet to it because it's from there we are now going to pick for the switch. So let's say we want to give this management VLAN 192.168.4.0/24. Let's call this one management. Management. So this is our management VLAN. So from this network now, I can pick an IP address and give my switch. Now I'm going somewhere. I know I say I'm going somewhere. So how will I give the switch an IP address? I will go back to my command line. Guys, watch out. Global configuration mode. Which VLAN is management VLAN? VLAN 40. I'll say interface VLAN 40. When I first taught you how to give switch an IP address, you will always say interface VLAN 1. I was talking at your level at that point in time. This is a different realm now. So you need to grow up. You need to come to another level. Because we have said don't use VLAN 1. So how are we going to give the switch an IP address? We have decided to pick VLAN 40 as our management VLAN. So we are going to enter into logical interface of VLAN 40. Instead of saying interface VLAN 1, you say interface VLAN 40. Then I will hit enter. Then this is where I'm now going to give the switch an IP address. I will now say IP address 192.168.4. I can use .1, but still skip it. I will tell you in our next class. .2, then 255.255.255.0. I will hit enter. And then you can say no shutdown. And guess what? I am done giving the switch an IP address. So when you create management VLAN, this is not about data between users. No, it's about management traffic. You allocate subnets and you give the switch from there. So therefore means if there is another switch tomorrow on the network right now, maybe more switches are added to the network. another switch is added, which we are going to add into this class, I will still give this switch another IP address from this network, maybe 4.3. If another switch is added, 4.4. If another switch added, 4.5. If you like, you have 50 switches on the network, they will all pick the IP address for management VLAN. 100 switches for management VLAN, 200 switches for management VLAN. That is the essence. You cannot afford to mumble about with data VLAN. No, they need to have their own VLAN themselves. When we assign or allocate IP addresses to switches, we give them IP addresses from management VLAN. Who creates management VLAN? You. Who determine the VLAN number? You. Who determine the subnet? You. Don't ever forget this. Don't ever forget this. And that is where I'm going to pause for now and give room for questions before we do the next part. Our VLAN was just done on one switch. Somebody asked me a question now. What if you need to have more, you need more port? Let's assume we have exhausted all the port on this switch. No more port, and there are new staffs. New staffs in accounting department, new staff in HR, new staffs in admin. What do? No more port. We can go and buy another switch now and link up to that switch. Maybe this one is switch A and this one is switch B. No shaking. The same thing we did in this place. We created 3 VLAN, accounting, HR, admin. We are going to replicate it on this other switch. Same thing. So plug some people in accounting here, plug some people in HR here, plug some people in admin here. Same thing. Then people in HR on this switch will be able to talk to people in HR here. Accounting people will be able to talk to accounting here. Admin people will be able to talk to admin here. If you like, add another switch, replicate it again. Same thing will happen. If you like, have 50 different switches, scatter the VLANs across all those switches. People of the same VLANs will talk to themselves. And that is what I want to do right now. I want to add one more switch. That is what we call inter-switch communication, meaning my VLAN has crossed one switch. It's now going to another switch. How do I do it? It's not a problem. It's the same thing we're going to do. We just add additional configuration to make the thing work perfectly. So let's do this. I'm going to bring in a switch. Then I'm going to bring it to 2 computers like we did on the other side. Then I'm going to connect them together, connect the switch, the computers to the switch. So I can create the VLANs before plugging the port, but now I can also plug the port if I have decided on what to do. So I can say, okay, port 1 and, let me say, 1 and 2 will be for accounting. I've not created the VLAN, I'm just plugging, guys. I know what I want to do with those ports. Let's say port 11 and 12, just like we did on the other side, will be for HR. (11) and 12 will be for HR. Let's say for 16 and 17 will be for admin, guys. So when we are going to move our VLAN and port into VLAN later, we have to be sure that we do the right thing. If not, there will be fire on the mountain. This thing will not work. Then I need to link the 2 switches together, guys. Let me use gigabit ports to link them together. So I am done doing physical connection. So the point now here is this. If you know these things very well, there is no hard and fast rule. There is nothing like you must do this before you do that one. You can just do them in any order as long as you know what you are doing. So I'll put port 1 and 2. I plug some people in port 1 and 2. I plug some people in port 11 and 12. I plug some people in 16 and 17. But in my mind, I've decided that the guys on 1 and 2 are going to be in accounting. 11 and 12 are going to be in HR. 16 and 17 are going to be in admin. So what is the big deal? Not the problem. Then I will go to the switch. Same thing we did on that side. I will go to the switch. Show VLAN brief. You see the VLAN. Now there are other VLANs that I didn't talk about. These are old school VLAN that are not in use again. They call them legacy. So leave those ones out of this. Look at our VLAN 1. by default is created. Okay, no problem. Let me name this switch B so that we don't confuse them. So I want to create VLAN 10, name it accounting, then create VLAN 20, name it what? HR, then create VLAN 30, then name it what? Admin. They must be the same, guys. They must be the same. So now we can go and find out. Show VLAN brief. Look at all the VLANs. I've created VLAN 10. Its name I can't say. There are no ports there. I've created VLAN 20. Its name HR. There are no ports there. I've created VLAN 30. Its name admin. There are no ports there. It's not a problem. So what have we decided? Port 1 and 2, you are going into accounting. Port 11 and 12, you are going into HR. Port 16 and 17, you are going into admin. So now that I've created the VLANs, I will just move those ports into those VLANs. Now, the last one I didn't do now is management VLAN, which we use for the switch. So let's do that one too, guys. Let's not leave it out because we also need to give this switch an IP address. I'll say VLAN 40. Don't forget, our management VLAN is VLAN 40. Name, management. So find out if it's there. So look at our VLAN 40. It's our management VLAN. So now I need to move ports into those VLANs that I've created. VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30. So I'll go into those ports at once. Interface, range, fast tunnel 0/1, spacebar, hyphen, then 2. I'm in those 2 ports simultaneously. So where do I want to move these 2 ports? I can't tell. Say switch ports, access, VLAN 10. I'm done. We can find out to see if they are there, but let's finish everything. So HR, guys, I'm putting port 11 and 12 in HR. So I can go back again. I can use my up arrow key, edit that thing. When you edit now, I'm in a different port when I hit enter. I'm going to be in port 11 and 12. I'll hit enter. I can use my up arrow key again, edit this one, and say these guys are entering VLAN 20. So I have entered facilitator 0/11 to 12, and I'm moving those ports into VLAN 20. I can bring up my up arrow key again, edit that thing. Since I say port 16 and 17, I'm going into VLAN 30. Hit enter, bring up my up arrow key, edit this one again, moving into VLAN 30. Hit enter. I can come down right now, show VLAN brief. Look at what we have done, guys. We created VLAN 10. We name it accounting. That VLAN is active. We move port 1 and 2 into accounting department. So if I plug in port 1, somewhere plug in port 2, meaning we belong to accounting department. It doesn't matter where others are, as long as we are member of the same VLAN, we will all talk to ourselves. Then for HR guys, we have only 2 ports there, port 11 and 12. And for admin, port 16 and 17. So what do we need to do next? We go and give them IP addresses based on their subnets. We have chosen a subnet for accounting. We've chosen a subnet for HR. We've chosen a subnet for admin. We will give each of the computers that are plugged in those VLANs their IP addresses based on the subnet they belong to or the VLAN they belong to. So now I'm going to go to for those 2 computers on the other side. One, where are they? See why I don't like putting ports now. Okay, this one is in 2. This one is in 1. So these 2 guys, their network is 1.0 network. That is accounting department. Don't forget we have used 1.2. We have used 1.3 on the other side. So these 2 guys we take .4 and .5. So I'll go to this computer here. I will say, okay, you are 192.168.1.4. Then put the subnet mask. Then go to the other guy that they belong to the same VLAN. You are 192.168.1.5. Put the subnet mask. I've taken care of those guys. What about people in port 11 and 12? Those ones are in HR. What is their own subnet? 2.0 subnet. We've used .2, we've used .3. So we are going to give them, we've used .2 and 3. We are going to give them 4 and 5. So I'll go to this guy, go to the IP desktop, IP configuration. I say you are 192.168.2.4. Subnet mask, you guys should know that. Then the second one, which is in port 12. Where is the one in 12? Okay, I've given 12. That's the one in 11. I think the ports are interchanged here. You are 192.168.2.6. One is .5, one is .6. Then the last are the guys in admin, port 16 and where is it now? If I miss these guys, we are going to run into trouble. So we need to get it right. Why did you go down? When I say we run into trouble, we are going to fix the problem later. Oh, oh boy. But it's better not to make mistake, because you make mistake, we have to solve the problem. We have to start doing troubleshooting. And that will take more of our time. So where are you? Who is in 16? Who is in 17? Okay, this is 16. As you have somebody in 17 there. This is 1. Okay, this is 17, 16 and 17. So we're going to give these guys from 3.0 network. So we're going to go there and say, you are 192.168.3. We have used .2, we have used .3. This guy's going to be .4. Put subnet mask. Then, okay, I think I just finished this. I'm going to go to the last one. You are 192.168.3. We've used .2, .3.4. This guy should be .5. So now we're done. So now, guys, you know what I want us to do? Let us test this connectivity separately. When I mean by separately, on the other side first, to be sure that people on the same VLAN can talk to themselves. On the other side, so somebody in 1 and 2 should talk to themselves. That is, people in VLAN 10 should talk to themselves. People in VLAN 20 should talk to themselves. People in VLAN 30 should talk to themselves. That is on the other side. Then we will now try to find out, what if your member of your VLAN, a member of your VLAN, is on the other side? Can you still talk to the person? Let's find out. So let's go to those guys that are in VLAN 10 first. Where are they? VLAN 10, 1 and 2. This is 1. How come I have, okay, where is 2? Okay, let me just go to the guy in VLAN 1. I say VLAN 1, sorry, VLAN. Yes, this guy. So this guy belongs to VLAN 10. So we can confirm the IP address. IP config. You see, we gave this guy 1.4. It came from VLAN 10. So he has another neighbor on that switch. Let's see if he can talk to that neighbor. Ping 192.168.1.5. That is the neighbor. Somebody in the same VLAN with this guy on that same switch. They can talk to themselves. Let's go to another computer and see. This one is in VLAN. That is VLAN 20 now. So let's check the IP address. IP config. This guy is 2.6. We know the people in 2, they are in VLAN 20. So let's see if we can talk to somebody in same VLAN. Ping 192.168.2.5. There is 2.5 somewhere there. I hope there's no problem. See 2.5 or 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. I think I made a mistake somewhere. Let me find out. This guy is port what now? 11. Let me see what the guy in 12 is having. 11 and 12 are supposed to be on the same network. Okay, I gave it 2.4. There is no 5. I gave it 2.4. That's why we're not pinging. So 2.4. So you see, now you see that this guy can talk to the same person, I mean, a member of his own VLAN on that same switch. Watch out, so I'm going somewhere. Oh. So let's take the other guy. That's people in VLAN 30. I didn't talk to themselves too. IP config 3.4 network. Can you talk to 3.5? You see, they can talk to themselves. So if we try to cross border, you see that this is not going to work. Let's say we want somebody to talk to 2 dots. We know that we have 2.4. It's not going to work. Why? That is a different VLAN. So everybody in the same VLAN on this switch can talk to themselves. On the other switch can talk to themselves. That's not where we're going, guys. Where I am going is this. What if I am a member of your VLAN on another switch? Meaning what? You are in VLAN 10 on switch A. I am in VLAN 10 on switch B. We should still be able to talk to ourselves. Somebody is in VLAN 20 on switch A. Another person is in VLAN 20 on switch B. We should be able to talk to ourselves. So let's see if this is going to work. And if it does not work, we'll find out why and solve the problem. So go back to my computer that is in VLAN 10. It's okay. You know what? You can ping people on your VLAN. What's the IP address? This guy. IP config. See, this guy is 1.2. It's in VLAN 10. So we know you can ping somebody .3. We have taken care of that one. So you can ping 192.168.1.3. You can ping a member of the same VLAN on this switch. But you know what? You have some other guys on the other switch. Can you ping them? One guy is 1.4 on that switch. Let's see if this guy can cross border and go and ping the switch on the other side. You will find out that this is not going to work. So why is it not going to work? Why can't this guy go to the other side and ping somebody that is a member of his VLAN, regardless of where you are located? That is what I want to explain right now, guys. I talked about that in our last class, but I'm going to emphasize on it here now. Take note of that. So now watch out what I want to explain here, guys. In our last class, I talked about trunking. Trunking. I want to carry VLAN 10 message on top of this link. This link is a VLAN 1 connection. What do I mean by that? If I go and show VLAN brief for you now, you see that gigabit 0/1 is in VLAN 1. Gigabit 0/1 on the other switch also in VLAN 1. It is only VLAN 1 message that can cross this border now. If I want VLAN 10 message to cross, I probably need to have another connection and make sure that the 2 ports that I use there are in VLAN 10. If I want to carry a message for people in VLAN 20, I will need another connection for VLAN 20 guys. And if I need another connection for VLAN 30 guys to be able to communicate. So if I want to continue like this, that's going to create a mess. That is why they came up with a technology called trunking. What is a trunk port? A trunk port is simply a member of all VLANs. So the moment we go into this port right now and tell this port and turn this port to be trunk port, it simply means any VLAN can cross that border. We have to do it on the other side as well. So if you forget trunking between the two switches that are running VLAN, guys, your VLAN is not going to work. Inter-VLAN switch communication is not going to work. So even if you like, you have 100 switches, 200 switches, 500 switches. As long as you want somebody on VLAN 10 here to talk to another person on VLAN 10 on the other side, you must have a trunk link. So anytime I give you assignment and you see that your trunk is not working and you have more than one switch, think trunking. How do we do it? Very simple. I will enter into this port and activate trunking. I will enter into this port and activate trunking. Now you are going to see that that will solve our problem. So I will go to that port. Which port am I using to link the two switches together? G0/1. I will go to G0/1. So I know that you are the one I'm using to link my two switches together. And you know what? I need to activate something in you. I'll go to global configuration mode, interface, gigabit 0/1. I am in that port right now. I want to activate trunking. How do I activate trunking? Switch port, trunk. I will hit enter. Oh, I think it's switch port mode trunk or something. Switch port, let me have a question mark. Yes, mode. Trunk. That's it. Look at the command. Switch port mode trunk. I'll go to the other side as well and go and do the same thing. Go to that port there. Interface gigabit 0/1. That's short form. Switch port mode trunk. I'll hit enter. And guess what? I've activated my trunking at both sides. If I ping right now, that ping should go when I am trying to talk to a member of my VLAN on the other switch, as long as there is trunking connecting the two switches together. So any member of any VLAN can travel over that lane. You are not restricted. You can go on that link. But if you forget to configure your trunk, this is not going to work. So before we leave this place, let's confirm to see if our trunking is formed. Show interface trunk. You're going to see there's a trunking. So this is telling me now that there is a trunking on gigabit 0/1. The mode is on, meaning I didn't allow them to negotiate. And this is the encapsulation they were using. I talked about it in our last class. That's our tagging mechanism. And guess what? Trunking. Guys, look at what we said here. So I spoke about this in our last class. Native VLAN 1. Meaning, when these two switches are going to be passing information between themselves as regard to VLAN, they will be using VLAN 1 to carry that traffic. I'm talking about, no, I don't want to use the word management now. Any information that they are sending between themselves on that link, they will be using VLAN 1. And that is what we call native VLAN. And this is not acceptable. We are going to come and fix it before we finish this class again. If you remember in that our last class, I talked about data VLAN, management VLAN, native VLAN. Native VLAN is what the switches use to talk between themselves. But let's first of all confirm that our computers can talk across multiple switches. I'll go back to that same computer. Now that I've created trunking, you should be able to talk to somebody on the other link as long as the person is a member of your VLAN. If I hit enter right now, you can see that I'm crossing that border. I can talk to .4, and I think I have .5 on that side, and I can as well talk to .5. These are all the guys in VLAN 10. If I go to another person in VLAN 20, let's say I think this person is in VLAN 20. I want to talk to another person on the other side that is a member of my VLAN 20. Nothing spoil. I have 2.4 on the other side. I ping 2.4. It's successful. And I think I have 2.6 on that side as well. I pick 2.6 is successful. Why? There is trunking. So it does not matter where you are located. As long as we are members of the same VLAN, we will be able to talk to ourselves. Unicast is between us. Multicast is between us. Broadcast is between us, regardless of your location. We will be able to talk to ourselves. That is why we say VLAN is a logical grouping of users. We must not sit down physically in one office, but on our switch, we are aggregated. We are together on one or multiple switches. And that is what we call inter-switch VLAN communication. The recording again. We've successfully changed our native VLAN to VLAN 50. So when these switches need to communicate between themselves, they will now be using VLAN 50 to talk between themselves. They will not use VLAN 1. So the bad guys are not aware of what we got now. So when I always tell people, if the bad guys want to come to your network, to give them work to do. Don't make it easy for them. Don't let them just come and then they are in already. No. So they have to now start working. They want to hack your native VLAN. They want to hack this. They want to hack that one. They shouldn't meet you with default stuff. That is the essence of native VLAN. So management VLAN is to where we pick IP addresses. We assign as a subnet. We pick IP addresses for our switches. But for native VLAN is when the switches need to talk between themselves. We must change that. And we decide the VLAN number for security reason. And you must document it for your organization. So when these switches need to talk between themselves, private discussion, they want to gossip, they will use VLAN 50 to gossip between themselves. And that is the last part. So let me see, second to the last part I want to talk with you guys. So Since you are not having question, let me just move to the last part. The last part I want to talk about is dynamic trunking protocol. Cisco will tell you don't use this. So why are we still having it in the curriculum? Well, since it's here, we just have to talk about it. Since it's here, we have to talk about it. So what is the dynamic trunking protocol? Sometimes you don't even need to do trunking at both ends before your switches become trunking. Why? There's a protocol called dynamic trunking protocol. Cisco owns this protocol. Anytime you see proprietary, that means it's customized for that vendor. So this protocol is a customized protocol for Cisco devices, Cisco switches. So it is on by default on this switch and this switch, and they tell you not to use it. So what is the big deal about this switch? Let me just go straight to the, uh, this is what I want to show you guys. There are some Cisco switches that run this particular protocol called dynamic trunking protocol. So what is that basically? Some of these switches, so let's have two switches here now. Some of them will be in dynamic auto, and some of them will be in dynamic desirable. So this is the idea. If you bought a switch and one side of the switch is dynamic desirable, say dynamic desirable, and the other side is also, is let's say dynamic auto, you know what is going to happen? This one that is in dynamic desirable, once it senses that it's plugged to another port, another switch on the other side, it's going to initiate a conversation and say, can we form trunking? When a switch port is in dynamic desirable, it wants to actively form a trunk with anybody that is plugged on the other side. And since this is automated, the other side is going to also agree and they form trunking. So Cisco is trying to tell you, okay, there is a combination here. There are situations where the switch will not form trunking. Case in point, if you have a switch on this side, call it switch A. There's another switch on the other side, call it switch B. And these two switches are connected together. One side is in auto, the other side is in auto. These two switches will never form trunk. Why? Nobody is actively pushing for trunking. I like using this example. It's like you are a man, you have a babe around you, and you like the babe, you want to marry the babe, or you want to date the babe. You are supposed to be in dynamic desirable and call and talk and say, can we date? The babe in African culture is supposed to be in auto, even though they are spoiling that culture now. But if you, the man, you decided to be in auto, you know, great talk, you didn't talk. Babe, I want to date you. The babe too is expecting you to talk. If you miss your wife, oh. So one side must be dynamic desirable. If you have auto, nothing is going to happen. So Cisco will now give you the combination. Don't mind me. Oh. Cisco gives you the combination of when you will have trunking happening and trunking not working. So when you look at the board, this breakdown here now, when one side of your link is on dynamic auto and the other side is also on dynamic auto, this is the only thing they will form: access port. What is access port? That is only computers will be connected, no trunking. But when one side is on dynamic auto and the other side is on dynamic desirable, they will form trunking. When one side is on dynamic auto, which is based on this protocol, and the other side, you trunk it manually, like what we did in today's class. Everything was trunked manually. So if you trunk one side, you left the other side to be dynamic auto, they will see from trunking. But if one side is also in dynamic auto, and the other side is in access mode, meaning it's just will be connected to computer. I will show you that command now. I think I skipped it. I didn't talk about it in our last class. There will be no trunking. When one side is in dynamic desirable and the other side is auto, they form trunking. When one side is dynamic desirable and the other side is also dynamic desirable, like they say, I heard that in Kenya, babe used to toast men. That is the dynamic desirable and the men to dynamic desirable. Definitely they will form trunking. When one side is dynamic desirable and the other one is on trunk manually, of course they'll form trunking. But if the other side is on access mode, trunking no go form. In fact, if one side is on access mode, nothing is going to happen. So leave that part. So the other one, what if one side is turned to trunk manually and the other side is on dynamic auto? There will be trunking. One side is trunk manually, the other side is on dynamic desirable, there will be trunking. Of course, this is what we did in our today's class. We trunk one end manually. We also trunk the other end manually, and our link from trunking. Any side that is on access, there will be no trunk at all. So now this code is telling you don't use this protocol. Disable it. In fact, they tell you to disable it. How do you disable it? Look at the command here. You go into your ports, say switch ports, non-negotiate. Get rid of that protocol. So I always had that question. So why do you people put it there when you know it's not useful? So this is the point. Sometimes they come up with a technology and down the road they discover that this thing doesn't make sense. They will talk about it in the curriculum, you know that it is there, but they are telling you that don't bother about it. Oh. We were not thinking straight. This thing didn't make sense. So whenever you are working, you'd make sure that you do your trunking manually. Maybe also be aware of this dynamic trunking protocol stuff. It's dynamic. Let me show you one more command, and that will be all for today's class. If I go and say show interface, let's say facetunnel 0/1 switch port. Watch out now. I just issued a new command now. Show interface facetunnel 0/1 switch port. Look at the breakdown here. It's giving me the name of that port. It's telling me that it's a layer 2 port. That's why it's a switch port. But this is what I need you guys to see. Administrative mode, dynamic auto. So this port is in dynamic auto. And I'm told to disable it, even though somebody is already plugged on this port right now. That's why you are seeing operational mode is static access. A computer is plugged in now. So they told me to disable this thing. How do I disable this thing? Okay, if it is not on the trunk port, I can go to that port now and just issue this command. I'm in the port now. Say switch port mode access. If I just say switch port mode access, it will disable that dynamic trunking protocol. What I'm simply telling this port is don't ever connect to another switch and form trunking. You can only connect to a computer. And if I issue that command right now, you're going to see administrative mode here. Before you saw dynamic auto. Here now it has changed to static access. I have changed it by command. Say never in your life. Think about connecting to another device and form trunking. So this is how we lock down the ports that are connected. One of the ways actually, we lock down the ports that are connected to user because we don't want the bad guys to come and bring their own switch to our network and plug it, remove somebody's computer and plug it and form trunking and begin to harvest information about our organization. We lock down these ports. So on the electronic link, which is like our, what is it called now? Our G0/1, you say switch port, non-negotiate. But if it is a port that is connected to user, you just say switch port mode access. You've locked down that port to computer. No switch can be plugged to that. No switch will work on that particular port because the port will not accept to talk to a switch. It will only agree to talk to to computers. And that's